the 5 stages of wealth. Depending on which stage you're at, it doesn't determine just what you can buy. It determines how your life actually operates. Most people think that by stage 5, your life's going to be magical, but I'm going to walk you through the story of a founder who, after he sold his company for $100 million at 27 years old, described it as the darkest time of his life, and research shows he's not alone in that. Over the last 12 years, I've been the financial advisor for people with a $10 million net worth in their 40s, to those who started from zero. And today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 stages of wealth that have been researched by some of the top academic minds in finance. I'm going to help you identify which stage you are at, explain why most people get stuck at stage 2, and give you the proven financial decisions and financial planning strategies that you need to make at each stage to move forward. Stage 1, financial struggle, broke, and dependent. According to research conducted by the Financial Consumer and Affairs Authority in 2024, 7% of Canadians self-identified as struggling a lot. This group is not confident in their household financial situation over the next 12 months. They often run short of money for food and have less than 1 month's income in savings. In addition to this, the average household income is $40,000 per year. That's it. 44% rent their home. And I'm even skeptical about this just being 7% of the population, because in 2022, Stats Canada reported that 26% of people would be unable to cover a $500 expense. So if this is you and you are willing to do what it takes to move out of this stage, stay tuned, because there are some simple mindset changes and money moves you can make to do so. Simple, not necessarily easy. Now, most of us have been at this stage at one point in our lives. We just graduate and get into the real world and receive the harsh wake-up call that our degree isn't proving to be as immediately impactful as we imagined it to be. We start to feel the weight of student loans, high rent costs, and are potentially going into debt just to make ends meet. If this is currently you, or if this has been you, you may feel a bit of anxiety just thinking about this, but don't worry. You can get out of this stage. In fact, most do, and all it takes is a mindset shift and some good financial habits that anyone can build. And the people in this broke and dependent group who believed the following statements to be true, they tended to have a higher well-being score and were well on their way to moving out of this stage. So the 3 statements that they agreed with were as follows. So the first one, I can pretty much determine what happens in my life. They disagreed with the statement that my financial situation is largely out of my control, and agreed strongly with the third statement, when I make financial plans, I do everything I can to succeed. This goes back to another study, which I covered in this video that should pop up right here, that financial mindset plays a huge role in wealth creation. So you need to have a mindset of empowerment and in control when it comes to your life. There are really no excuses. And even if there are excuses, people might feel sorry for you, but they're going to go back to their comfortable life and you're going to be left with your excuses. So just the idea of changing your mindset at this stage can be actually very helpful. And on the subject of taking action, here are 3 things at this stage that are absolutely crucial. Number 1 is you need to track expenses and limit or eliminate your use of credit cards. At this level, I would actually suggest cash to spend on things like groceries and discretionary spending. That way you ensure you don't overspend. The envelope system can be great here, and this is where you have cash envelopes for different expenses. When you run out, you either borrow from another envelope, or better yet, just stop spending on that expense category for the month. Number 2, you need to set up an emergency fund. Every month, set aside a percentage of your income until you have at minimum $1,000 saved. Number 3, be frugal and do not let your peers' financial situation cause you to spend beyond your means. There was a study done that looked at the peer groups of lottery winners and found that the non-winning neighbors and friends' bankruptcy and debt increased. There is social pressure to spend like your peer group. Avoid that, and you are well on your way to climbing out of stage 1. Now, if you find yourself having high interest debt, use something called the snowball approach. This is where you start with the lowest balance, pay it off. Now that minimum payment's gone, even if it's an extra $10 a month freed up, the snowball starts small, but they can grow into massive savings. So once you've paid off your lowest balance debt, then you pay off your next lowest balance, and so on. And you might be wondering, well, Sam, doesn't it make more sense to start with the highest interest debt instead of the lowest balance debt? And logically, you'd be right. But in this situation, logic has kind of gone out the window, because you've got high interest debt. So now we play by a different set of rules, and rules that are needed in order to accomplish what you set out to do. And the truth is that psychologically, you are more likely to actually pay off debt if you start small and have little wins, instead of trying to tackle your largest debt getting exhausted, and eventually giving up. Now, this may take time. Not everyone gets out of stage 1 in 6 months. But the key here is that you build good habits. You have consistency, you budget well, and you've built up an emergency savings fund. By the time you get to stage 2, if you've done all these things, you'll feel like you are pretty wealthy compared to the people who basically are born and start at stage 2. Stage 2 is financial stability. Financial stability will feel like a breath of fresh air for those getting out of stage 1, but like Hotel California, it can be a place where you check in but never leave. It is very important that stage 2 is just a stop along the way to your wealth creation journey. Many people become chronic stage 2ers, even high earners. And at this stage, this is when you know you're at this stage. You've reached solvency. You are no longer struggling or living paycheck to paycheck each month. Your financial stress is going down as your basic needs are covered, and you are likely to see a surplus on a monthly basis. Now, this can lull you into a false sense of security and cause you to forget the habits that got you to this place in the first place. The truth is that you are still only a few months without a job or a few bad financial decisions away from being in consumer debt and sliding back down into stage 1. Now, there will be some months in this stage where you feel like you are still living paycheck to paycheck, where anxiety creeps back in. But there are other months where you're going to feel empowered. You saved $500 or $1,000 this month. You are making progress towards your goals, and the dreams that seem so far away in stage 1 now seem achievable. According to the Financial Consumer and Affairs survey, this stage of wealth makes up about 41% of Canadians, the largest demographic of all the stages. Now, the key in this stage of wealth is that you can stay here, and most do, but if you want to break out of this stage into stage 3, you need to create systems and stop relying on your daily motivational status in order to create wealth. Now, lifestyle creep is going to be your biggest obstacle at this stage because finally you can afford some nice things. But this is a trap. If you can identify this and beat it early, chances are you will be moving on from stage 2 very quickly. Now, I've seen high earners, and these are people making like $500,000 a year in salary, fall victim to lifestyle creep. I've also seen how small changes and automation completely transforms their financial life. So there's 2 mindset shifts that I'm going to focus on in this stage. The first is shifting from reactive to proactive. So stop thinking about what you did wrong in the last few months and start thinking about what the next 3 months will look like. Things like, what if there's an unforeseen emergency? What if that purchase that we needed to make comes on sale? What if there's a stock market correction? You need to start thinking about these things in order to be in a better position to take advantage of them. And the second mindset shift that is needed is that you need to start viewing wealth as a means to obtain financial security. Some people get a little bit of money and completely abuse it. They are obsessed with the concept of looking wealthy, and while that may drive them to increase their incomes, they are chronically stuck in stage 2. There was a study done in the UK that looked at key drivers of wealth creation and found that you are likely to be wealthier if you view money as a financial security tool rather than as a means to attain power or status. So if you're watching this video shortly after I post, it's currently the first week of January. You're probably going to be motivated to accomplish something new in your life in 2026. Motivation is great, but we all know that at some point it runs out. And if we have not created habits or systems, we will stop doing the things that are difficult to do. Here are some foundational pieces you need to have in place financially in order to move from stage 2 to stage 3. Save a minimum of 15% of your pre-tax income every month and automate this. Start by allocating this to an emergency fund before you invest this money. The emergency fund should have at minimum 3 months expenses. It should not be held inside a registered plan like a TFSA or RSP. It should be in an accessible savings account. Number 2, buy life insurance, health insurance, and disability insurance. People who view wealth as a means to attain financial security are likely to be wealthier in the long run. Having your bases covered can allow you to take more financial risk in your business or in your investments, knowing that if anything bad happens to you, insurance can cover your family's financial needs. Next, break up your goals into 3 buckets. Long-term goals like retirement, medium-term goals like buying a house or starting a family or expanding your business, and short-term goals like a vacation or buying a new car. I will have some more videos here on how to invest money that is geared towards different time frames, so subscribe if you want to see those. But for now, seek out professional advice. But avoid advice where the advisors are just trying to sell you expensively managed mutual funds that charge 2% or more, because most investors are better off just buying an index fund and letting the risk tolerance be determined based on their time horizon and comfort level. The next one is being diversified in your holdings. If you have company stock, consider diversifying away. This way you won't have high concentration risk because you are now at a stage where compounding can be a great asset to you. But you can also be fooled into thinking you know more about investing than you actually do, especially when you are just starting. This can lead to overconfidence, poor decision-making, and a lot of time spent just to realize that investing in a low-cost, diversified index fund is one of the simplest ways to achieve the best consistent returns available in the stock market. At this stage, use RSPs and TFSAs strategically here. If you're still working your way up the income ladder, that does not mean you should avoid RSPs. I have a great video linked here explaining RSPs and TFSAs and how they can work in tandem, so check it out. Next, continue to track expenses and use the percentage-based approach. This is crucial to avoid lifestyle creep. Instead of tracking every dollar after the fact, you decide in advance where every dollar is allowed to go as a percentage of your income. And the system is pretty simple. So your money gets divided into 3 buckets. The first bucket is fixed or necessary expenses. This is the cost of running your life, like mortgage, rent, utilities, or groceries. The second bucket is discretionary spending, things like eating out, entertainment, shopping, and travel. And this is honestly where lifestyle creep usually sneaks in. And the third bucket is savings and investing, and this bucket comes first. Every time you get paid like clockwork, the money moves immediately. Savings and investments first, expenses next, and discretionary spending last. You spend what's left over instead of saving what's left over. And if you can reliably set up these foundational financial systems and habits, you will feel more confident to do things like start a family, buying a house, travel without guilt, and generally you'll get that amazing feeling of being on track to accomplishing your goals and moving into stage 3. Now, moving into stage 3 is dependent on one thing, whether or not you can advance your savings rate past the average savings rate. In North America, the average savings rate is about 3 to 5% of your total income. Those who move out of stage 2 and into stage 3 are saving 10 to 20% of their income. So that means you either cut down on things you don't need, or when you make more money, you don't increase your lifestyle spending. Now, in the first 2 stages, I have focused very heavily on the concept of mindset and foundational habits that you need to create. From here on out, you get to build on top of those habits. And this is where people get into more technical planning like tax planning, estate planning, wealth management, and investment planning. Now, this starts in stage 3, but it's important to know something about stage 3. If and when you get to this stage, you can call it a day. However, those who are looking to create massive wealth, some crucial decisions in stage 3 need to be made. And missing out on making these decisions can permanently keep you in stage 3. Stage 3, financial security. Let me know if you've reached this stage in the comments. Stage 3 in your wealth creation journey is full-fledged accumulation stage. Here are 5 markers you can use to identify if you have hit this stage. Number 1, you have 3 to 6 months of income in your emergency fund. Number 2, you're saving 10 to 20% of your gross income every year. Number 3, you have discretionary money for eating out, travel, and leisure activities. Number 4, your financial stress has significantly decreased. And number 5, you no longer need to worry about a significant expense risking your financial security. A concrete example of stage 3 is the millionaire next door archetype. Before they hit $1 million, these are individuals who live below their means and diligently build wealth over decades. For instance, consider a dual income household in their 40s who have paid off all credit card debt and other consumer debt and accumulated around $500,000 in retirement and investment accounts. They own a home with equity and have an emergency fund of 6 months expenses. They've maxed out their RSPs and TFSAs and also invest in a broad stock index fund in their investment accounts. Their lifestyle might include a nice home and car, but notably they budget for these and avoid overspending. Thomas Stanley's seminal research found that many millionaires live modestly, often with inconspicuous consumption, which is how they became wealthy at the first place. And at stage 3, you see this mindset. Perhaps the family chooses a reasonably priced vacation instead of a lavish resort so that they can contribute extra to their kids' college fund. They might say something like, "We're comfortable, but we're focused on securing our future." If you're in stage 3, this can become a launching point for stage 4 and 5. Or it can become the white picket fence life you dreamed about and a comfort zone where many people choose to stay. In this stage, you are well on your way to retiring with a few $1 million of net worth, a fully funded education plan for your kids, and maybe even retiring a few years earlier than you thought. You no longer need to continue to aggressively climb the corporate ladder or massively invest to expand your business. You also likely have more free time on your hands to spend with family and friends and doing the things that you enjoy. From a financial perspective, this stage invokes questions like, can I afford to retire early? Is a nicer car in my budget? How can I lower my tax bill? And are my investments working as hard for me as they should be? The financial decisions you make here are crucial, and this is where you optimize. I was meeting with a new prospective client in their 40s a while ago, and we found that despite them accumulating nearly $1 million in savings, most of it was not invested correctly. They had no idea the correlation between risk and return, and generally did not understand the value of tax planning. I showed them their current holdings and projected net worth over 20 years if they changed nothing. They would have been okay financially, but with a few small changes, correct investment portfolio, and registered plan contributions, their projected net worth increased by nearly 30%. Psychologically, the decisions at this stage start to shift from short-term goals and frameworks to long-term decision-making. And this is where a growth mindset starts to take shape. Now, in this stage, there are 3 crucial decisions that you need to make that will determine whether or not you hit step 4. Number 1, taking calculated risks. Number 2, practicing delayed gratification. And number 3, starting or investing in a business. Now, aside from number 2, 1 and 3 will mean you take on higher financial risk than you need to take. If you stay on a normal trajectory, saving 15 to 20% of your income, optimize for taxes and investment growth in your portfolio, and avoid emotional financial decisions, you will probably be comfortable for the rest of your life. However, the people who reach the next stage of wealth and stay there have either had smart risks pay off, have practiced massive delayed gratification and saved up to 50% of their income, or have been business owners. Boxing legend Marvin Hagler said, "It's hard to get out of bed to do road work at 5 a.m. when you've been sleeping in silk pajamas." Financial security is where most people stop, but some explode to stage 4, and this is where things can get complicated. Stage 4, financial independence. At this stage, you are by any objective metric considered wealthy. Some people judge this differently, and some look at it as hitting the $1 million net worth mark. That puts you in this stage. However, I would only consider $1 million in net worth as stage 4 if you are under 40. Being 65 with a $1 million net worth does not mean much these days. In fact, even if that's all in liquid investments, that really only affords you like a $25,000 to $40,000 a year net income after taxes from your assets. So that's not much considering the cost of living these days. At this stage, you can quit your job tomorrow. You may be 30 or 50, but it doesn't matter. If you wanted to retire, you could do it. Most people never truly hit this stage. This stage is mostly reserved for people who either took financial risk early in their lives or were massive savers. Business owners hit this stage with an early exit from a business or diligently saving their profits year over year. You are wealthy, but you might not feel wealthy yet. In an Ameriprise survey of 3,000 investors, they found that only 8% of those with over $1 million of assets considered themselves wealthy. You may still be living in that feeling that everything could be gone in an instant. So you become protective or more conservative. Your financial decisions in the past have got you here, but now a mistake could derail everything. Now, this is the stage where most people, if they haven't done this already, start seeking out third parties to help manage their wealth, not because they are incapable of doing it on their own, but because they know that a mistake at this stage could take them back to stage 3. They have struggled long enough. Stage 3 is in the past, and they would like to keep it there. At this stage, you recognize that you have wealth that will likely survive you, and you start thinking about the next generation. How can you set up your kids and maybe even their kids for financial success? The focus from a financial planning perspective moves from accumulating more wealth to preserving what you have and maximizing the enjoyment of your money. You are in more advanced financial planning and tax strategies here because you've maxed out your registered investment plans like RSPs and TFSAs. Now, here are 4 financial planning and tax strategies I advise for people who are in this situation and those looking to move out of stage 4 and into stage 5. Number 1 is spousal loans, and this is where you loan money to your spouse at a lower tax bracket in order for them to invest the proceeds in non-registered investments. This strategy allows the lower income spouse to earn investment income and have it taxed at their lower marginal tax rate versus your higher marginal tax rate. Number 2 is setting up a trust for business owners that are planning on selling their business. This is helpful because if you name your spouse and or your kids as beneficiaries on a trust, you can sell the shares of your small business and each of the beneficiaries can claim up to $1.25 million of tax-free capital gains exemptions. That would save you about $400,000 of tax on each exemption that your family members claim. If you don't have a trust, only the shareholders of the business can claim this exemption. Now, a quick caveat here, you need to get professional tax and legal advice to set this up, and it's not right for everyone. Number 3 is tax loss harvesting. When you've maxed out your registered plans and are investing in non-registered portfolios, tax loss harvesting is a way to lower your tax bill and ensure you remain diversified. This strategy involves selling poorly performing securities in the middle of the year or during a downturn in the year to claim a capital loss, then rebuying a similar security to stay invested, and then either selling some securities which have deferred capital gains in the same year or carrying forward your losses to a year where you know you will need to liquidate some of your portfolio and will have capital gains taxes to pay. So the key here is that you can offset these gains with the losses that you have triggered by selling your poorly performing assets. Number 4 is estate freezes. An estate freeze is where you freeze the value of your assets and pass down the growth to the next generation. So there's limited tax for your estate to pay when you pass away. All the taxes are owed to the beneficiaries after inheriting the wealth. And while there are no technical estate taxes in Canada, there are taxes your estate owes at death. And this is a way to minimize those taxes. I've worked with and talked to multiple people who have hit this phase early in life, quit their jobs or sold their businesses, and lost all meaning in life. This stage allows you freedom to reclaim your time, take risks with part of your capital, and enjoy life more. Those who make strategic decisions at this stage, calculated risks, and have a desire to continue to maximize their economic value can skyrocket into stage 5. Stage 5, financial abundance. As Jamie Dimon said to the founder of WeWork after his company went public, you are now what we refer to in the industry as a UHNWI, aka an ultra high net worth individual. Most people will never hit this. This is the top 1% of net worth. Typically, this comes about in only one of 5 ways. Number 1 is inheritance, which you could argue you were already in this stage from day 1. Number 2, massive business success in a high profit enterprise. Number 3, a business exit or IPO, which are initial public offerings of a company you have equity in. Number 4, massive investments in early stage companies that take off. And number 5, C-suite executives at Fortune 500 companies. Jeff Bezos famously said that he has made multiple people multimillionaires because people were early investors in Amazon. That's one of the things he's most proud of. Now, I'm not recommending making massive investments in early stage companies, however, because people don't go from stage 2 to stage 5 doing this typically. Your penny stock portfolio will not make you rich. Now, if you want to at stage 4, where you have financial independence and you actually have capital that you can risk a portion of and go the venture capital route, now that's a different discussion. This is where things start to change for you though. Stage 5 can feel foreign. So imagine this scenario for a second. Imagine you are used to saving diligently, not spending frivolous amounts of money on leisure activities in your 20s and 30s. You have a fantastic financial foundation built and you started your family. And now you've got 2 kids, ages 7 and 10. And you wake up one day in your early 40s after a business exit and realize that you now have $50 million in the bank. You could retire tomorrow if you wanted to. All of a sudden, you aren't sure what to do. Your kids ask if you can go to Disneyland. This is new because you can absolutely afford to fly there and go first class and stay in a 5-star hotel for a week, and your finances wouldn't even be affected at all. But it's so outside of every habit that you've built financially that you're having a hard time saying yes, but also having a hard time justifying why you would say no. You want your friends to come with you and your kids' friends to come with you on this vacation, but they absolutely cannot afford to do this. And you know that when your kids come back and talk about this amazing trip, that'll put financial stress on your friends to do something similar for their kids. And that's the last thing you want. You have this strange feeling of no longer fitting in with your group of peers that you've resonated with for years. And all of a sudden you realize you feel lonely and isolated. This is a wealth migration journey. Dr. Jim Grubman is a psychologist specializing in wealthy family dynamics and describes entering the realm of the ultra wealthy as immigrating to a foreign culture. I highly recommend his book, Strangers in Paradise, if this is you. And if this isn't you, then read it to just learn how the other side lives. Dr. Grubman notes that 80% of ultra wealthy individuals are first generation immigrants to wealth, who have to adjust their mindset in order to survive in this foreign land. Jake Kassan sold his company Movement Watches for $100 million at age 27 and actually posted about it on Reddit and on a founder podcast regarding his struggle with depression and a general lack of direction after selling his business. And he thought all his problems would be solved. So no stress, play video games, literally, this is what he said. He wouldn't even be able to spend the interest his payout would generate. He had done it. He had achieved the dream and would never have to work a day in his life again if he didn't want to. Instead, what happened was he became deeply depressed, struggled to find meaning, and realized he had a completely unhealthy relationship with himself, his values, and what motivated him to be successful. Now, here's his advice. Number 1 is find purpose in your life. Number 2 is discover your personal values and stick closely to them. He also advised taking a Myers-Briggs test to find out more about yourself and what makes you tick. He said money past a certain point won't make you happier. It'll just make you lonelier because it isolates you from your friends and family. And number 5, just start something new, even if you fail. There's lessons everywhere. In another similar scenario, Marcus Persson, creator of Mojang B, the company that created Minecraft, sold for $2.4 billion at age 36, right after an advisor told him, congrats on selling your business, now get ready to be in for a depression. Marcus had the life many young people dreamed of, a young, ultra-wealthy individual hanging out with celebrities, able to do whatever he wanted, yet he never felt more lonely. In a tweet, Marcus said, the problem with getting everything is you run out of reasons to keep trying, and human interaction becomes impossible due to an imbalance. While Marcus hasn't shared specific pieces of advice for others in similar situations, Harvard Business Review, which shared his story, has some advice for this demographic. Number 1, accept that this will be a reinvention process. Number 2, build a game plan for the first 6 months. Number 3, join a community or peer group, which admittedly is easier said than done. Number 4, avoid making too many changes at once. And 5, develop a healthy relationship with money. And number 6, get curious about new things in life. Now, moving on to the financial planning strategies these people implement, they are highly specialized. Strategic philanthropy takes center stage for many. There are many ways to give to charity, but most people don't know that you can actually give shares of your unsold securities to charity without cashing in the shares and with no capital gains taxes owing. Lots of people just give from their cash flow, and that gives them a tax credit. But you can actually give shares of your investment portfolio to charities, receive the tax credit, and pay no tax on unrealized capital gains. This is an extremely effective method, especially from a corporate perspective, where there are 2 separate layers of tax. The first to cash in your corporate portfolio, and then if you want to take the money out of your corporation to give to charity personally. Now, instead, you can give your investments, receive all the tax benefits with none of the capital gains taxes. Now, of course, the government in their infinite wisdom has decided that this may trigger something called alternative minimum taxes in Canada. So you do have to be careful when doing this, but always ensure you get qualified tax and financial advice before doing this. It is a fantastic tool to start to give back to communities. And lots of wealthy people do give a lot of money to charities. Now, many people at this ultra wealthy stage will also hire their own wealth managers and legal team as part of a family office setup to help structure things properly. A lot of them will set up their own charities. They'll set up different funds to invest things in that bring meaning back to their life, like different types of venture capital or helping younger entrepreneurs and things like that. And for some at this stage, money becomes a scorecard and the desire for more becomes insatiable, even though it will add nothing to their life materially. Most people who reach this stage actually skip stage 4. And that's one of the reasons why it feels so foreign. Their friends can't relate anymore and they feel like strangers in a strange land. But this stage doesn't have to end in isolation or confusion. The people who thrive here are the ones who stop using money as a scoreboard and start using it as a tool to buy time, a tool to create impact, and a tool to bring people with them instead of pulling away from everyone they know. At this level, the goal does not need to be more accumulation. it's intentionality. Stage 5 isn't about escaping life. It's about designing one that actually holds up when money is no longer the problem. What level are you at? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, I think you'll find tremendous value in watching this other video that I made.